3, 2.
The Real Deal TV, bringing the good stuff every day. The Real Deal TV, Real Deal TV.
Welcome to our show. I'm Lisa Ruddle,
I'm Doug Brown.
and this is
The Real Deal.
Yeah.
The Real Deal.
It's real.
I'm excited to be here. It's my first real time on The Real Deal.
I know Doug wears many hats on our show, so he's sometimes
And many headphones.
and many headphones. So yes.
Is my hair okay? Because I was just in the control room and checking stuff out.
No, you clean up very nicely.
Am I right? Is the hair okay? Okay, good.
Thanks to Inspirato Designs.
Yeah, see how I set that up so we get the plug in there? Yeah, we got this.
Yeah. So yeah, the set's coming along. We've
It's
got
beautiful. I love the set.
Well, we have so many people collaborating to make the show happen, and that's what brings me the most joy is just seeing people in their kind of creative zone.
I thought it was the pizza that brought you the most joy.
Oh, okay. The second thing that
Okay.
brings me the most joy is the set. The first is the Costco
The
pizza.
set is amazing. All of the elements, all the people that are coming together to make it better each and every week. And speaking of getting better,
The biggest reveal will be happening soon.
this is so exciting. Because you over on this side, you guys probably can't see it right now because we're using the wonderful wood set. But over there, the black curtain, the famous Between Two Ferns black curtain.
Yeah, that's the thing is it looks so cheesy on
very
camera.
cable, it's very cable.
Very cable access. We're trying to come up a notch here. So
And we are because we have held a contest for a photograph to cover that black curtain with some original artistic Okanagan beauty.
masterpiece.
Masterpiece.
We put it out to social media, and of course, there's so many amazing photographers.
I was blown away by the caliber and quantity of entries.
So the winner of our contest,
I would do that more, but Jamie will blow an eardrum with the microphone.
Chris Uli. So he's from Kelowna.
Way to go, Chris.
This is the photo that he submitted.
And you can see why that was our pick.
It was. I have to come clean about something though, because
There's a scandal already.
there is a bit of a scandal, and I take full responsibility for it. When we put out the call, I assumed that people would know with the talk show that it wouldn't be seasonal.
Right.
So somebody actually did get more likes than Chris,
Right.
but it was a
The
fall
pictures are
photo.
very fall oriented, and we can't, that
So-
looks odd in the summer or the winter.
Yes.
The fall.
So today, at least true to my word, I want to mention Jeanette Fraser, and I'd love, Jeanette, for you to send us all your photos because Jeanette takes some amazing photos in the Okanagan, and there's going to be so many opportunities for photographers in the Okanagan to be a part of our show. So let's get down to business.
Down to business. What's our business?
Well, today we're doing a whole show on growing up gay in a small town.
Right. It's such a big topic and such an important thing to talk about. And you've collected a selection of guests from around the world, literally.
We have, yeah. One of
The-
them that I knew growing up.
One that actually you knew growing up. So Jenny Popoff and Lucy Anderson, and
Violet.
Violet, mom, is coming in to talk about living in Naramata.
Well, and the funniest thing about that is actually that my nickname was Lisa the Lesbian in Naramata school. I had an undercut and underbite. It's very boyish, played hockey.
Yeah.
And Jenny actually was dating a boy that I liked. And so it's just funny now just to see the the reversal, right?
Right.
So now she's engaged to Lucy, and they're going to be coming on the show. And one of the main things I'll be talking about is her coming out and how her mom reacted, because that's always the biggest fear. I think.
Yeah, like you've got to, it's something that, I can't really relate to. Like try to figure out how do you tell somebody that you love that the thing that they've assumed about you your whole life isn't true. If maybe they haven't even assumed that. I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yep, and same with Dayton Ricketts. Yeah.
This is the young man from
Lumbee.
From Lumbee.
Yep.
What a great guy. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear more about his story. And as well, Nate Flavel from Kelowna's Actor Studio.
He's amazing.
Yeah, amazing guy. His drag persona, Hannah. We'll leave it there. Hannah.
We'll show you a little teaser of that.
Just an incredible personality, and Nate's just an amazing guy, and has a great story to tell as well.
Yeah.
Real Deal TV.
Our first guests are actually familiar to me. Well, you two are. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
My name's Jenny, and this is my mom, Violet. And we grew up in Naramata together.
And
And this is my partner, Lucy.
Forget about me, your fiance.
so soon already.
I know, right?
So the topic today, of course, is growing up gay in a small community. Let's just quickly talk about that for a second, because in elementary school, you weren't out.
I wasn't out. I definitely knew that there was something different. I think it all started when I was watching Saved by the Bell, and I wanted Kelly Kapowski to be my babysitter. So that's how that all started.
Uh-oh. I'm starting to have some questions.
So it was a little confusing. But then as I grew up and went on to junior high and stuff, I definitely knew that I was gay. Like I knew.
So when do you think that was exactly that you knew?
Oh God, I knew when I was like 6. Like I knew when I was always, I was always the dad when we played house, or I was Ken when I played Barbies. So I just knew.
Well, what's interesting between us is that in elementary school, my nickname was Lisa the Lesbian.
Yeah, my
remember
gaydar
that?
didn't go off once with you.
Well, third baby, I'm hoping it doesn't
I
go
don't even
off
think I was
any-
attracted to you at any point during.
That's well, you like the lipstick lesbians. And I was definitely not one of those.
No, you were more in like cowboy boots.
Undercut, yeah, it was-
Yeah, we had the same haircut at one point, I think.
We
so.
did. So coming out, how did that journey work out for you?
Actually, I have so many coming out stories. I would say that I have 3 significant ones. One was in junior high when I wasn't quite ready to come out yet, and
You were outed.
I was outed. Not fully, because I worked very hard at making myself seem straight after that. So, but then I came out to my mom. And
Tell me about that.
The PG version. I was having a party at my house, and Mom came, and there was a situation where it was very obvious that I was gay. And we sat down. There was a group of about 8 of us that sat down, and
Thanksgiving.
I think it was Thanksgiving, wasn't it? Yeah. And we had a conversation, and people were playing beach volleyball and stuff around us, and the party was still going on, but there was definitely a group of us hanging out, and we don't even remember. We were talking about it on the way here, what I said to her, and she doesn't remember.
Well, I was coming home from Washington State driving, and Jenny had phoned me, and she just came out, and I don't know what she had even said. Like, I don't know if she said I'm gay or I like girls,
Yeah.
but it was like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, what's for dinner?
Yeah, it was. She just looked at me and she was like, "This doesn't even surprise me. Like, surprise me with something, because this is nothing compared to half the other stuff you've done." And then she said, "Love is love, and you're healthy and you're happy, and that's all that matters."
How did that
And-
make you feel?
Oh gosh, it was at the time, because I'd had a couple to drink. I don't think I cried, but everybody else was crying, and
Yeah, it was no big deal, and it was just like, okay, well, let's eat dinner.
yeah, what's for dinner?
And what was going on in your head? Like, did you know?
No, I didn't until she told me.
There was one point where Mom said, she goes, "Jenny, you've been having sleepovers well past when you should have been having sleepovers." So
Wait a second. What do you mean? There's a rule around that?
it didn't really shock her. Like, we were trying to talk about it on the way here, and it seemed like such an insignificant moment in our relationship. We've had bigger things that we've had to deal with, so that isn't one of them.
And it was her lifestyle choice, and it wasn't for me to say anything, and we had good talks, and
And I'm
It was
lucky
not a big deal.
because she.
I was just gonna say, so you did it the right way, and I know that there's so much fear in that coming out, especially to parents. And now, Lucy, you had a very, very different experience. You grew
Very.
up with a Catholic background,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Do you want to just tell me about your experience?
Well, I was never gay. I had been straight right up until probably 22, 23,
And how old are you now?
31.
Okay.
I went traveling. I'd been with my boyfriend at the time for 6 years. All I'd ever known was guys. I went traveling, and then I met a girl there and suddenly had these feelings that I'd never had before. And I just followed it, and I just went with it. And I waited until about a year into that relationship to come out to my mom. And I came out to her first, and it was probably the most terrifying moment of my life, because I knew that my mom wasn't going to be totally okay with it. I have a gay brother, and then my sister, and then me. So I was the youngest, and I think my parents had like pinned all these hopes and dreams on me, and not that it was gonna like jeopardize anything like that, but just I think my mum always imagined me marrying a rich guy and living next door to them and whatever. And suddenly I came out and I was like, yeah, I'm gay. And my mum just thought it was a phase, told me to just kind of like not tell my dad yet and keep it low key, which I don't know, it upset me at the time because I wanted to be open and I'd gone to her to kind of.
And she wanted to put you back in the closet.
Yeah, I think, and I think she just wanted me to just wait it out, and I was like, I've already waited a year and whatever. Anyway, so I did, and I kind of like left it, and I was traveling and traveled Australia, traveled New Zealand, went back home. I was still with the same girl at the time, and then we broke up, and then I ended up getting with a guy in between, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I don't know what do I do? Like, so then I was like, well, it's not necessarily about the gender, it's about the person, and if I'm in love with that person.
Hearts not parts.
Hearts not parts. Yeah, and that was it. And then when Jenny and I met, I just knew. That's when I really knew.
That's when it came out to
That's when I
everybody.
really came out to everyone. And it took me so much to come out to my dad. And he was the best out of everyone. He kind
Really?
of like, yeah, and being so far away from home, I had to do everything over FaceTime, and I missed that kind of interaction and being able to just sit down with my parents and be like, this is where I'm at right now in my life. But yeah, my dad just kind of.
It was really cool because what, a week after you had told him about you and I, he sent Lucy an email and said, I'm paying for both of you to come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
We really want to meet Jenny, which was like, oh my gosh, like how do you accept a gift
Wow.
like that? And we got on so well, him and I.
Yeah.
We were like two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
We were doing shots
I
of
think you'd
Fireball.
get along with anybody, though. I think you
Yeah.
have that personality.
My dad's really easygoing. I don't know why I had that fear. I think because of what my mom had said, like, you know, just you need to be ready before you kind of bring this news to the family kind of thing. And
Make sure you're sure.
Yeah, and at that point I was so sure.
I think that's the reason why it took me so long as well. Like that's what you just, it's not that you're necessarily afraid to come out, it's just that you want to be sure. You
Yeah,
just,
because
you know.
it does cause, not upheaval, but it does change things. It does change things. But yeah, when I sat down and I'd just been on FaceTime with my parents, and I came off the phone and I was like, I'm ready, I have to tell my dad. So I messaged him and I was like, Dad, I need to talk to you, can I call you back? And he was on his own.
FaceTime?
Yeah, he was on, my mom wasn't there at the time.
There's a good hang up button. So just kidding, click.
So I
Or
was
you do the
like-
freeze.
I was like, I really need to talk to you about something. And I couldn't get my words out. And then I think I said something like, Jenny and I are not just friends. Like, I'm not sure if you know this already. And he was like, no, I didn't know that. Because I used to always have girls around, and, you know, we'd go out and
The
blah, blah,
sleepovers like
blah.
Jenny?
Yeah, but no,
And we're a
obviously
little
not the
different than
same. But my dad just was like, oh, girls are girls. Like, that's just what they do. But then, so I unloaded all this stuff to him, and I kept saying, like, it's okay if you're not ready yet and stuff. And he was like, do you feel better now? And suddenly this whole weight had just gone, and I was like, yeah, I do, like, because that was like the turning point for me. I was like, yeah, okay, this is it, this is me, this is who I'm with, and this is it. And now we're engaged and we're gonna get married, and it's like,
When are you guys going to be married?
See, it's two women planning a wedding, so we'll see. Ask us again in a couple months.
a year away, April 2020. That's when we
So
wanna do
that
it.
all sounds very positive, and you guys have had, you know, better experiences than a lot of people.
Yeah.
What is some adversity that you guys have faced over your journey?
I mean, I can't really say too much. I didn't have a lot of negativity. I mean, in junior high, I was outed before I was ready to come out.
Yeah.
That was tough then, and that was just because it was teenage years. I didn't know. I was trying to find my own identity, right? But as far as like being an adult, I mean, there's still there's the little things that sometimes get on my nerves. It just depends on the time of the week or whatever.
I think a lot of it is people's comments
Like,
on
this is my gay friend.
like, oh yeah, or you'll see like feeds on Facebook and people will be commenting on things and they'll say something to do a gay comment, and they won't think anything of it, but they don't know how much that actually affects
Or if
you.
somebody says like, you know, they'll go, does this make me look gay? And I'll go, you mean awesome? Or that's so gay. And I'll go, oh, you mean awesome like me? Like I'll just throw it in there to just kind of take a dig at them.
Right.
Or like I have, my friends are very supportive. So when somebody comes up and they introduce me as their gay friend, because now it's cool to be gay, right? It's cool to have that gay friend or whatever. And someone's like, this is my gay friend, Jenny. My friend will come up and she'll go, hi, I'm her straight friend too. Like just to kind of take that dig, like,
Right.
it's not something huge, but it is, it can be. It
And do you
depends.
think it's intentional, or do you think people that are just?
I think it's coming from a good place. I
Yeah.
do think it is coming from a good place. It's just sometimes it's like, it's not necessary. I didn't get up and gay brush my teeth this morning. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't gay drive my car.
I did.
I would like to see that later, actually.
Violet, have you had any experiences with anybody making any comments to you about your daughter?
No, I haven't actually.
I
We
think
don't-
before I had officially come out to my mom, she had heard things
Oh.
around town because it's Penticton, right? So
Yeah.
she had heard from coworkers and stuff that I was at the bar. And I think that was our only time where we had a little bit of trouble, was just because you hadn't heard it from me
Right,
yet. And you'd
yeah.
been hearing it from other people. So
rumor
again,
mill.
kind of like, yeah. So like getting outed again before I was ready to. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people out other people before they're ready to. Or
Right.
even when people introduce me again as their gay friend, and it's like, it's up to me whether or not I want to
Share
tell
that.
that. You know what I mean? Like,
Because we don't go around saying, "Oh, this is my straight friend."
well, yeah, it's
So-
like, I also work with people with special needs. My favorite color is green. I do photography. Like,
Doesn't
there's other
define
things.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? And, but I mean, every day is a coming out story. Everybody that I talk to is, I come out every single day. This is coming out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some people are going to see this and go, I'm gay.
So for people in those more like rural communities who are maybe afraid to come out, I know there is a lot of positive movement going. We have a very strong community here in Kelowna. What advice would you have for them in terms of dealing with their journey and how they?
It gets better. It just gets better. And these things that seem like mountains are just going to be molehills. They're just, and they do give you stronger, like thicker skin. So when you come out on the other side, you're gonna look back on it and go like, I made it through that, now I can make it through anything. Bring it on.
And the kids to talk to their parents.
Yeah,
That was a big one.
We talked about that on the way here, is that Mom just felt sad that I didn't come to her.
Because I could have
think that's
supported
what my
her.
mum felt though too. I think she did feel that, like,
Especially in school.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I would have known when Jenny was
She had no
younger.
idea what I was
I
going
didn't know, and I could have been there to help support her, because it's hard when those teenage years.
You're dealing with it
And-
alone.
And I just think, if she needed somebody to talk to, I was there, and I'm sorry that she didn't talk to me earlier.
Well, you are an amazing mother.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, the best. The best.
And any other mothers that are out there watching this that have a situation where they're have a child coming out, this is how you do it, people,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here. So thank you guys so much. Is there anything else that you guys want to mention?
Not
really.
no. It gets better. Your teenage years are not going to, you're not going to look back on it mad. Like you will. You'll look on it as a positive thing. It's making you who you are, and you're going to be tougher and better for it.
And love is love, right?
Love is love.
Love is love.
That's right. Well, we say that a little too much now, don't we? If she calls me by accident, like pocket dials me, love is love, Jen. Love is our excuse for everything now.
Well, I love your relationship. Thanks you guys so much for coming on. It's not easy to share under lights and in this kind of way, but
No, this is
thank
great.
you and congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have you guys anytime. And if you guys need any, like a flower girl or something at your wedding, or like,
Yeah, you're
know,
hired.
Definitely.
Anything?
A DJ, an MC. You
Any-
would be a great MC.
Yeah, we do need everything.
awesome. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Coming up next, we have another small town guest from Lumbee. Dayton Ricketts will be sharing his story.
Real Deal TV.
My next guest, Dayton Ricketts, welcome. Now, you grew up in Lumbee.
Did, yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Okay,
Yeah.
so what was it like growing up in Lumbee? Because I know Lumbee, British Columbia, for those who are unfamiliar,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a rough and tough kind of.
It is, yeah. There's definitely a rough and tough group for sure. Yeah. It's I actually really enjoyed it. A lot of my friends, at this point in time in their life, they're like, oh, I want to get out of this town. But I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit, and flying back into our little valley and seeing what we have is pretty cool. So I love it. And
How many people?
It's about 1,700 people, the town, so super tight knit, which I thought was good. My relationships that I formed in the town were extra, just because of how close everyone was. You kind of take care of each other, I guess, in that sense.
A small town community kind of
Yeah,
feel.
and you're held accountable too, right? Like you can't just run away from your problems. So people are good people for the most part. So yeah, it's great.
So how many people were in your elementary school?
Oh, the elementary school was probably about 300. It was big at the time, though. I think it was about 300, but they ended up closing them down because, there started to be less attendance. And our high school, though, which was both the elementary schools combined, was only about 500 kids. So
Okay.
yeah, so it was a small for sure. My grad class, I think, was like 87, which was the largest grad class to pass through the school. So yeah.
Okay. So growing up gay, that's the kind of the topic in a small community
Yeah.
for the show today. What was it like for you, because what I picture is in those kind of like redneck kind of towns,
Yeah.
I grew up in that kind of town as well.
Yeah.
Did you have any difficulties?
Well, so I guess the main thing was for me is I was pretty confident always growing up, and I was super good at articulating my feelings and communicating with people, but I guess I just struggled because at this time in society, it's kind of on the edge of being okay and not okay, depending on who you talk to kind of thing.
Right.
And because I was confident in who I was, I kind of had this feeling like, I shouldn't have to come out because, no straight person came to me and said, date, like, is
I'm
it
straight.
Yeah, is it okay if I'm straight?
Yeah.
I didn't approve that, and I don't not approve it. So I kind of always thought like, no, I'm just gonna do me kind of thing. And I knew at a pretty young age that I was gay, but just kind of wanted to, live life. And I thought maybe other guys feel like this too. I had no perspective to know, right? And it wasn't until I found an interest in someone and started, dating them, and we talked about, getting more serious with each other and talking to our family and stuff about it. And, we kind of dialogued and asked, like, do all your friends know? Does all your family know, kind of thing? And my family did know at that point. But it's just interesting how that stuff plays out.
I want to talk about your family for a second because
Yeah.
a person who has your confidence doesn't just come out of nowhere. You had to have had some kind of influence in your life to give you that confidence and to make you feel like okay with who you are.
Right,
Who
yeah.
was that person for you?
It actually wasn't a single person for me. I have a pretty big family, so it was, I guess, the entire support group. All my grandparents, I've been fortunate enough to have all of them growing up, both sides. Same with all my cousins around, aunts, uncles, like the whole works, my mom and dad, my brother. Everybody was always around. Holidays were a big deal. We're all within 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes of each other, so we see each other quite a bit. And I guess just growing up in that environment, surrounded by so much love, I just kind of always knew for the most part everybody would be super supportive and that wouldn't be an issue.
Was that the case when you came out?
Yeah, totally. I was still, of course, nervous because I did have this amazing support group and relationship with everybody. And I think, for the most part, like none of my family really knew because they grow up with you, so they can't really, I guess, pick that out. Some people in school would be like, oh yeah, I saw that, or some people were like, yeah, I had no idea. So I wanted to do it the right way, and I felt like it was time because I felt like, although I didn't think it needed to be addressed, I felt like I was also sending a bad message by not talking about it. So I said,
Because you're confident in yourself, but there are lots of kids out there who
Exactly,
need
yeah.
an example, a role model like yourself to say, hey, look at.
yeah, and in my life there was some of those people that I thought, hey, if I did this, maybe it could help other people. Am I sending a bad message by not, making this known? So I did decide, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come out, and I had to decide how to do that too. And I'm really good at articulating myself, maybe more so on paper, to get my thoughts in a nice, like, concise presentation, I guess. So I made this really cool craft paper letter that I wanted to give to my grandparents and my mom and dad. Stamped it with a cool wax seal, and I visited everybody that night and left it in random places. I put one on my grandparents' table, and same thing at my other grandparents. Gave my mom and dad a note and said, hey, there's a letter on my bed. I'm gonna go to a friend's place, read it together. It's okay, I'm all right, don't worry, kind of thing. And and everyone read the letter, and it was really well received. And I just remember walking out of my room the next morning. I had almost forgot that I had given everybody the letter, because that's how much it really meant to me. I guess it didn't really, that I wasn't concerned, I guess, right? And so I had given them the letter, and I remember like I was just about to reach for the doorknob, and it kind of hit me, and I'm like, whoa, this will be the first time that I'm like, gonna like open this door where everybody
Face
knows.
everybody.
Yeah, and face everybody, yeah. My close family, like my parents, right? And I had come home that night, and my parents' light was on, and my mom was crying. And so I was like, oh no, like, I hope everything's great. And I knew it would be, but in the morning she was still crying. And so I went out there, and I just pretended it was a normal morning. I'm like, morning, guys. And my dad was kind of laughing just because my mom was, you know, sad for the most part that she felt like she wished she would have known sooner so that like she could have been there for me, I guess, right?
So like Jenny's mom that you did in the previous interview.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Same scenario for sure, and she was really upset about that, and I guess.
Did you, sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
did
it's
you
okay.
think at the time that she was crying because she was sad that you were gay, or did you know that she was just,
Oh, not at all. She's a really emotional person. I love her to death, and that's why I've had so much confidence in my life, is because she is so sensitive and supportive with absolutely everything. So yeah, she sometimes gets emotional, but that's like what makes me who I am. And you know, that sensitivity is really I guess the most special thing about my family, is that we do have all that
you
sensitivity.
communicate, talk, that's something that you said was important, is the
For sure.
communication.
Yeah, the communication is incredible. I feel like if you're not talking about your true feelings and living your authentic self, then you know, you're not going to be able to find true love. And that first step is talking to your family and friends about it, and then eventually, you know, sharing deep feelings and things that you truly feel with a spouse or a partner. You know, you can't grow with somebody or a group of people, no matter if it's friends or, you know, your significant other, if you can't be vulnerable and open your heart.
Well, that's
really.
exact, you know, on our sign over there it says raw, real, relatable. Those are the three things that we want to try to accomplish with this show, is having conversations and dialogue that
Right.
fit those, so that we, you know, people can be more of a community, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So any bad experiences? Bullying?
I guess, well, yeah, I mean, in high school, I feel like everybody got some bullying. And obviously, I was a bit more sensitive to that. But again, it does thicken your skin. So that's something that I kind of always like took pride in, is like, yeah, like I can take this, I can do this for other people, you know, kind of thing. And I was never sure if it was specifically because I was gay, but I thought maybe that's just something all guys experienced in terms of the bullying and just being rowdy and like, you know, the jokes and stuff. But I obviously took it a very different way.
Right. It seems like, yeah, it may have thickened your skin, but it didn't harden you, so you still have a...
Yeah, absolutely, and I am more sensitive, I guess, and I may not show that part, and sometimes I may, but that's the exciting part, is that that's what makes me who I am, and that's why I've been successful in certain areas of my life, because I can communicate and articulate those feelings. My friendships are very deep, and you know, a lot of people admire that, so I think that's, you know, a big part of me, and I wouldn't have that maybe if I wasn't who I was born to be, kind of thing, you know?
Now, did you have any role models in the gay community when you were growing up?
And that's the thing, I didn't. So it was hard to come out in Lumbee specifically, because I'm looking around and there's no boxes that I fit into in terms of what a gay guy is, right? So I didn't really fit in anywhere, and I felt like unique in that sense. So that was another area of my life where I thought, yeah, like I wanna help people feel like, yeah, this is okay, and you don't have to fit in those boxes. As humans, we do compartmentalize everything, and sometimes when you hear like, you know, oh, so-and-so's gay, it's like, wow, I didn't expect that, but you know what? I have the perspective I do of them, and I like them, and I know them, so that totally changes what people think about the whole thing, because all they know is what maybe the media portrays, and sometimes it's more complex than that.
Well, I want to talk about the media for a second, because it does seem in the media you hear mostly the bad things, but all the conversations I've had so far, I feel very encouraged in terms of, you know, that support system and
For
the
sure.
confidence.
You know, you're doing yourself and even the evolution of like humans a huge favor by allowing yourself to emotionally evolve in that way and live your authentic self by actually exploring yourself spiritually and loving and really loving. Like, I mean, like the deepest connection with another person where you just, you know, somebody with the perspective of that would know what I'm talking about. I've been fortunate enough to love once, and it's like special, and I want to achieve that again. And I think that that's like, it should be everybody's ultimate goal in life. You know, nothing else matters really, I don't think. But
Right, and that's something that people in the church kind of get accused of is not loving people that are different in any way. And
Yeah.
that's one reason why I did think this was an important topic, is because if anyone did, look at the Bible and things like that, Jesus was all about love, loving everybody, love your neighbors,
Yes,
love your
sure.
enemies.
Yeah.
And so anyone that goes against that thing that God is love
Yeah.
is going against the whole message of
For sure. And there was people in my life that I lost that I didn't think I would, friends that kind of slowly disappeared, which obviously is super painful to deal with. But there's also people that came into my life, and people that were already in my life that loved me more, respected me more, cared for me more. So it just builds this incredible character, and I wouldn't wish any of it away. It's been amazing, and I'll maybe be able to do great things in my life because of the hardships that people come from internally and mentally and emotionally. That creates something. It's like you said, a thicker skin, and you can do more with that, I think.
but still a soft heart. Now,
for sure.
advice for kids that maybe are, they know that they're gay,
Yeah.
and they do see a lot of the fear in the media of the backlash that could happen. What's
Right.
some advice that you would have for somebody that's just trying to make that next step?
I mean, it's really hard to say because in school and high school, you always care about what people think. That's the pinnacle of everything. Got to be cool. Got to be a certain way. But I think once you come to terms with who you really are as a person, and you know that, you absolutely have to live that. Because if you're not, you'll look back and have huge regrets because you weren't able to fulfill your own spiritual needs, and that's a shame to have that time go to waste. Now it's hard for a young person to have that in their head, but it's so much better. It's in hindsight, I have the perspective of the before and after, and you just have to do it. You have to communicate, be who you are, and articulate your feelings, and share that stuff with people. Share a real experience. There has to be a mutual exchange of actual substance between people. All too often we get caught up in this, how are you? Oh, I'm good, thanks. You? Good. And we move on. But
It's surface.
it's surface stuff, and
Let's get deep.
yeah, let's get really deep. And unfortunately, as advanced as our communication technology has become, it's still at the mercy of how we use it. So we have a responsibility to communicate effectively.
Well, and face-to-face, right? It's all about having that kind of, because people are hiding behind their screens a lot
Yes.
and not having that kind of
Interaction.
interaction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned in this conversation that you'd like to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I just hope that people can feel good about themselves always and never spend a minute, regretting who they are or not accepting themselves, loving each other. It's, just the best thing for everyone to be at peace.
Well, thank you. I think that you are a great role model, and I'm so happy that you shared your story on our set.
Thank you for having me,
And I hope that someone watching out there is impacted.
for sure.
We're going to add another gentleman from Kelowna into this conversation. Nate Flava will be joining us right after this.
Real Deal TV.
I'd like to introduce his alter ego first, Hannah, and then we're going to get to Nate. So Nate, let's do a quick throw to your video. Do you want to just give a little explanation of what they're going to see?
Sure. So we did the event in town, Noir,
Yeah.
fundraiser for the Kelowna General Hospital Foundation. And long story, but I brought out a character that I play once in a while named Hannah that hosts the event.
That you need to see.
Yeah.
So let's go to that clip. I absolutely love that clip. That is amazing. It's a very good way to introduce you. So tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you come from?
I moved here from Prince George, actually. I grew up in Prince George, moved to Edmonton for a few years, and then came out to Kelowna in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've heard some of the experiences we've had on the show so far. All seem very positive, and
Yeah.
it's very encouraging to hear how accepted they've been in their journey. What was your journey like?
Well, I think I come from a bit of an older generation, and my partner actually comes from he's 10 years older than me. So the experience has been different. I mean, I know it's part of the journey, and I'm really proud of where the world has come right now and what we're experiencing with the younger generation. But my experience growing up was very hidden and very quiet, and wasn't accepted at all. And even in my first job in this market in Kelowna, the idea of letting my coworkers know or letting my my boss know that I was gay was absolutely not something you would ever do. So it was a
Okay.
very different.
So what changed for you?
I think the same thing that changes for everybody. Like you can only, I tell a story. I was engaged, was living in Edmonton, and my girlfriend at the time went off the pill without telling me.
Ladies.
I know, right? But I think I might have actually changed that story. I think she maybe just forgot a few pills. But I took the opportunity really, because at that point I was really discovering who I was. I took the opportunity to get myself out of that relationship because I saw myself being that 40-year-old down the road that came out of the closet and messed up the lives of my kids and my wife. And I just decided at a younger age I didn't know what the journey was going to be or how I was going to get there, but I was going to be true to who I knew myself to be. And I had to make that decision well before, I could, like years before I could actually tell anybody in my life.
That's a big decision because I actually have a family member who was married for 30 years, had 2 children, adopted, and then came out.
Yeah.
And ended up leaving his wife and family for another man.
And that's tough. And I'd seen that happen, and I just knew that wasn't what I wanted to go with. But at the same time, I really wanted kids, and I really loved my girlfriend. So
Right.
for me, it was that was just the life that I knew. The idea of picking this new life was, I really didn't feel like I had a choice. I just had
Right.
to make the decision now.
So how old were you when you knew?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I think you always know. Like, I always knew. Like, even in kindergarten, I knew I was different than the other kids. And maybe that's something that all kids feel, in kindergarten. Maybe they all feel a little bit different and wonder. But I knew something was different. When I went through my teens, looking at guys and thinking about different things and making excuses for why I was doing it in my head. So there's a lot of excuse as to like I was doing this because of this or this because of that, and it wasn't until probably in my 20s that I would early 20s where I was like, oh, I'm gay, but I had no one to talk to about it. So
You didn't have a role model to look up.
not at all. The funniest story on that front is my role model was Madonna. Honestly, it was so silly, but
I
she was
hear that a lot, actually.
She was the only person that was aggressively talking about it. And I remember sneaking into the public library to look at the sex book, and because that was just the wrong thing to do. But I was like, I have to see this, and I have to understand that there's someone out there that
Understand.
gets who I am. Yeah.
Right. So take me to that kind of feeling where you kind of felt hidden to now doing things like Noir and Kelowna.
Right.
How did you make that?
So theater. Theater really did that for me. Yeah, I own the Kelowna Actor Studio, so we do it with my partner, and we've done a lot of shows. We were very quiet and closeted with our subscribers even. It wasn't that we denied it, we just didn't talk about it. So most people didn't actually know that we were a couple. I swear there's probably a lot of people who still don't know that we're a couple.
Surprise!
Yeah, I know, I'm coming out. But that was interesting because we did all these different shows and whatever. And so we got to a point where we were doing La Cage. It's like the theater version of Birdcage.
Okay.
And my partner Randy played the lead. And I decided to be one of the cagelles, which are the showgirls basically in the club. And I fell into this world of drag and the performance art of drag and really quite enjoyed it. We were having fun and learning the makeup and all that fun stuff. And it was just a performance. RuPaul had a big contest at the time in Canada. I entered because we had the set and the costumes and the wigs and everything. So we put together a music video. And I was up against all these queens from Toronto and Vancouver across Canada. And I started getting attention and getting votes. And they started bullying me, actually. And it was a weird sort of dynamic where I was getting bullied by the gay community. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So all the kids, it came down to the point where I was like, I'm just out. I'm out. I didn't sign up for this. It's just a silly online contest. And it was actually one of the parents of the kids that were in our theater programs that came to me and said, no, my son is actually watching. We discussed this at the dinner table, what's going on with you and how you're being bullied. And if you just step back and allow that to happen and shrink away, that sends the wrong message. You have to do this. So my partner and I spoke, and I had a very strong decision at that moment that we were just going to stand up and fight hard. And Ellen ended up tweeting it at some point, so I won the contest, and that's where Hannah was sort of born. Drag is a funny thing. I have a crazy amount of respect for the drag queens out there because I think they're the Stonewall riots were started by a drag queen through the first brick, and those things, their job has always been activism. My job as a drag queen is a performance art. It's like any other character I play. So I'm not quite the same. It's not a lifestyle for me. It's just a character that I play to raise money for charities and such. But
That communication piece that you were talking about earlier, Dayton, in that, you know, if you do hide, what kind of message are you sending to the people out there, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right? And quickly, you were talking about your father and you coming out as well, and I know you guys are different generations.
Yeah.
What did your dad say to you?
Yeah, so my dad, it was funny, I walked out into the kitchen there, and he's just kind of has a smile on his face, and he's like, you know, I still love you, bud. You're just playing for another team. That's cool. I love you. So that was awesome and then have him laugh and just us hug. It was just super cool. So.
Did you have an experience like that, or what was your experience with your parents?
mine was, again, a little bit harder, but same end result.
Yeah.
I had a gay family member that my mom was actually really supportive of growing up. It was really, I don't know if I can out him on TV, so but still older generation, a family member. But mom helped a lot with that. So I just assumed when I was ready to come out and when I finally made the decision that I was going to tell the family that everything was going to be fine. And we were just doing dishes at Christmas, and I just literally said, so I think I'm gay. Actually, I know I am because I've been living with a guy for like the last year. So Jay's not actually my roommate; he's actually my partner. And my mom's reaction wasn't great, and she had a really tough time with it. And she said a line I say all the time. She said, "I always knew, but it was like being told that Santa Claus wasn't real." You know, so
What?
I know, crazy, but yeah, can I say that on TV?
Don't even go there.
You know, the funny thing is now that my mom plays Mrs. Claus at the mall every year at Orchard Park Mall, but that's a funny tie that I've never heard before. But she had a tough time with it, so I gave her a year, you know, to sort of make peace with it before we discussed it with the rest of the family. And I never really did, you know, I've never to this day gone to my brother and been like, so you know I'm gay.
You haven't had that conversation.
No, but I mean, I live with my partner, and he comes to visit, and we sleep in the same room. Like, I mean,
It's not
so
talked about.
it's just, I mean, but I would never discuss my sex life with my brother anyway. So you know.
Well,
like
and again, what Dayton was saying earlier, like, I don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm me and men," you know. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, there
We
is a
like
place
each
for
other,
that. Though.
you
There's a
know?
place for that in our society, and I think the people who have waved the flag and done the parades and all that stuff, they've really done this huge movement that has allowed the younger generation to be comfortable and be out there and have, like, those conversations have been had. So I'm sort of in the middle. Like, I've got a lot of my older friends aren't as okay, you know, they still wouldn't. I had anxiety sitting on the couch tonight and talking about this. Like, this is one of the first times I've ever opened up a conversation on camera. It's something that I still keep very private. So
Me too, though, so don't worry.
yeah, good, awesome. That makes me feel
It's
better.
normal, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that, you know, I'm so proud of where the world has come that we hosted a show full of drag queens at the Yacht Club this year and raised $11,000 for the hospital. Like, I mean, how cool is that? You know, 5 years ago, that would have been unheard of, you know. I remember watching RuPaul, like, couple first seasons thinking it was a great show, and like, you don't tell anybody that was what you're doing, and now everybody, all the students at the theater,
It's like
and
the cool thing
everybody's,
now.
I know, everybody's discussing it.
it's
so
not cool to be straight anymore. It's
I'm like, no, that was mine. You guys can stop watching it right now. Like, that's just for the gays. Yeah.
So what do you think are some misconceptions that people have towards the LGBTQ community? Am I missing some letters there? It's LGBTQ.
There's a lot of letters. I can't keep up with it myself.
RSTUVWXYZ.
Yeah.
I guess the main thing, from my perspective, is that not everybody fits into a box.
Right.
Right? And a lot of people make boxes.
Right.
So-
not all.
For being
all
such
gay
a
people like drag.
accepting-
Not all.
Exactly, yeah.
And for being such a culture that's supposed to be so accepting and upset about the fact that we get labeled all the time. We label everything. Like, like you got your bears and your twinks, and you know, like, you got everything. Like, it's all
What
like
would I
very,
be
very,
labeled
very
as?
labeled as lipstick. I would go with
Lipstick.
lipstick. Yeah.
I'll
it's
take
good.
it.
Yeah, sexuality is a huge spectrum, so it's that I guess is the main thing to understand, right? Like, it goes all across the board.
Right. Nobody can be fit into a box.
Yeah.
The other cool thing, I think, again, looking at the younger generation, like, I've got friends who have 7-year-olds and 5-year-olds, and they don't see any issue. They don't see anything at all. Like, they're growing up in a world where 2 guys, 2 girls. Like, they've got a friend who did the transgender.
Yeah.
I don't know the proper term for it, but
Transitioned?
transition there. That's the word I was looking for. And they don't see an issue with it at all. And I'm most proud of that. Like, the fact that they just, it's just what it is. Like,
Right.
and that's what I think the biggest misconception is that we're any different than anybody else. Like,
Right, and I think with the media, again, the media can sometimes spotlight things that, in gay pride parades. I don't personally want to see two straight people naked marching with apparatuses. So that's one thing that I can relate to, questioning, like, is that sending the right message?
but, well, so here's the basis of that. So you've got these parades happen, and their concept is to shock, because these people have been.
It can be
and
very shocking.
I agree. I 100% agree. So you've got this community who's been like living literally behind closed doors, and they get one parade a year where they can be their true self, and really put the message out there that this is okay, like it's fine. So they have to go. You have to go to the extreme to make this part okay. So like we were here, if we keep on pushing, then this part will be okay. But you have to see this in order for us to be okay here.
So you think that the over-sexualization of the gay pride thing is a positive thing?
I think we're past it.
But what about kids? Because me as a mother, I mean, I really, I do have a hard time accepting that
Yeah.
when I think about,
No.
even if we had a straight pride parade, it doesn't matter.
It'd still be inappropriate.
I don't
in some
appreciate
ways,
I
right?
agree.
straight people getting naked or making
No.
out in public.
Right.
And so it's not a gay or straight thing, it's just what are our kids seeing? And I think that it's
Yeah.
good to have a good message, but where's the line?
100% agree. I've always agreed. And the concept of even a drag queen, their original concept was to be this hyper-sexualized, stereotypical performer that really made you okay with somebody who maybe is trans, that, it's not as shocking.
Right.
And
Background's normal now.
yeah,
Well,
and
another
that's
question
the
too is
important
the
part.
sexualization of children. So another criticism was that trans boy who was 12 and he had adults putting dollar bills in his outfit while he was stripping. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that kind of thing? He's still a kid.
I just don't
Yeah.
think that's right. I don't think that's a representation of the gay community.
And that's
at
what I'm
all.
saying is
Inappropriate.
getting that lumped in. I want to make that very clear. Like, not all people are okay with that.
For sure.
It doesn't matter where they are on the spectrum, right?
Well, I mean, again, running the theater company years ago, I mean, our concern with actually sort of announcing or being known as gay in the community was that it was two guys running a theater company. Would people send their children to the theater company? Because,
Right.
back in the day, all gays were pedophiles, so those are the kind of stereotypes that we came through that I'm so proud that don't really exist anymore.
Right.
And it's so great to see how people have just woken up.
Yeah.
And
that
I think that's-
ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah, absolutely.
So different generations. Now, what kind of advice would you have for, kids that maybe are in a place like Prince George, somewhere far, more rural? Prince George is pretty big, but
Yeah.
it still has that kind of rural kind of feel. What's your advice for those kids that aren't in a big city, that it's very accepted, it's more that hidden kind of?
I think they've got such a tie into media now that you just need to find your tribe. And that
Yeah.
tribe doesn't need to be in your hometown. Like, that tribe can be online. You can meet that tribe through different, community groups. I think the number one piece that for anybody as a kid is find your tribe. Find who you like and who likes you, and hang out with them. Surround yourself with people that make sense.
Well, it seems like that from your generation down to, kids, they've got things kind of figured out.
They do.
But let's just quickly end with, what about your generation up, and maybe those people that are still closeted and are afraid to come out because they've lived a lie for so many years because they felt they had to. How do they make that step after so many years to
I don't
come
know.
clean?
Like, looking at even the way my partner and I interact in public, we are so programmed to not have any display of affection towards each other. And not that, I would never be a fan of two people making out in the corner, like straight,
just
gay
like,
or not. But we don't go out and I don't put my hand on his knee. Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
happen. To walk holding hands down the street doesn't happen. And that's now, I think, it's more our issue.
It is, because
the issue of the public.
I
Yeah.
mean, just in our studio today, Jenny and her fiance were holding hands and,
Yeah.
very,
But when that's been programmed
That's what I'm saying,
for
is
so
that
long,
programming.
and
How
it
do
does,
you-
like, you've got a very sort of beat up generation like I'm so like I can't go back to it enough. But the concept of how this new generation and how the younger generation gets to be without all that extra baggage hanging over top of like, oh, I can't touch you, I can't give you a kiss goodbye as I'm leaving, I can't, you know, I can't show that.
It's funny because like I want to do those things with my previous partner, and it's just like, yeah, that should be okay and that is okay, but you'd just rather not enter the argument in a sense with the other people. You know, we won't give those people a reason to talk, or we won't give those people a reason to look, kind of thing, because that's what you're worried is going to be the outcome, right? I guess would be my.
But when you've seen that hypersexualized concept of a parade and all that stuff that, you know, that I'm not a huge fan of myself, but you've seen that, it's not as shocking when you see two guys walking down the street hand in hand.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And it's made that normal and helped that.
Yeah.
So huge respect for those people, you know, but they're still going through their own journey as well, so.
So that's where I agree with you. It is part of our problem because that should be, you know, good.
Just natural.
Yeah, it should be natural, yeah.
So I guess by, you know, just being the example that you guys are, that will help older generations too that might maybe need to make that extra step and
Yeah.
be happy with who they are without
For sure.
all that baggage.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Is there anything else that you guys want to add?
No, thank you for
No, it's great.
having us. It's
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it's not easy being under the lights and talking about things that are, you know, personal. But I really appreciate your guys' time. And again, I hope that somebody's impacted by everything that you've said.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Real Deal TV.
So I don't know about you, but that for me was very encouraging to
That
hear.
was a great show. Good job.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it was their
Yeah,
words.
yeah, you got them going, and just what a great group of people to talk to, and the stories were so encouraging.
Well, and I have to admit, I was expecting some more horror stories because just the things you see in the media, you think,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh, people are horrible still. And it was really cool to see such confidence and conviction, and not, especially with Dayton, the way he carried himself, especially for someone that's younger. That was, you know, pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's exactly the opposite story that I expected from growing up gay in Lumbee. And no knocking Lumbee. I just mean that we tend to associate sort of small
smaller
towns
towns.
with a less cosmopolitan outlook, and I take it back.
Yeah, I have to
I
say
could-
I was so wrong, and I had some prejudgments.
Yeah, see,
and
look at that.
we're
Everybody
all-
can grow on this show.
We're
This is
all
good.
growing. So thanks so much to our amazing guests. The show's not over yet, though. We actually
yeah.
have some very talented people coming up.
Incredible music. Here we are with some incredible music from Tion, Amber, and Clive.
She tell me that I'm sweet, yeah. She's so in love with me, yeah, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, yeah. But she's way too good for me, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. She's so in love with me, me, me. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. But she's way too good for me, me, me. Yeah. I'm like sweet like the kisses on my neck from my baby. Sweet like the words she always talking, never saying. Sweet cause her friends say a brother kinda big goes the way I put it down on the daily. Am I wrong? It's way too long. Take you on. Maybe we can get it on. She tell me that I'm sweet, yeah. She's so in love with me, yeah, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, yeah. But she's way too good for me, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. She's so in love with me, me, me. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. But she's way too good for me, me, me. Yeah, I'm like sweet, what I whisper in her ear drive her crazy. Sweet cause the way I work the feel amazing. Sweet cause her friends say your brother kinda wavy. Sweet cause she loving every sound that we making, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when we do it, she like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And when we do it, she like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Cause when we do it, she like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she me that I'm sweet, yeah. She's so in love with me, yeah, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, yeah. But she's way too good for me, yeah. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. She's so in love with me. She tell me that I'm sweet, sweet, sweet. But she's way too good for me, yeah.
Real Deal TV. Feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for two. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. Bound to you, but still I feel so liberated. Love the way you say my name and call me baby. Don't wanna spend tonight alone. It won't do over the phone. Think that you could be here by 2. Lights are dimmed, curtains closed, VIP one-man show. Sit back, I'm dancing for you. Oh, feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for 2. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for 2. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. Bound to you, that's how I feel. Addicted to you like a pill. Your love is a drug taking over me. Come on, let me live out this fantasy. You're so tense, baby. Relax for me. Oh, ooh. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for 2. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. No, no, you. Feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for 2. I'm feeling the way I'm lost in you. Feeling the way I'm lost in you. Got me caught up in your game for 2. Feeling the way, I'm feeling the way. Feeling the way, I'm feeling the way. Feeling the way, I'm feeling the way.
Yeah, I mean, I turned the house light off. Do you like that? Think you can get better?
Probably do better. It caught me off guard in the beginning. So I was Yeah, I think we